Hey guys, Mike here from Movie Nation.
In this story, a group of scientists create a drug that can bring dead people to life. However, when one scientist dies in an accident, the others use the serum on her and unleash something dangerous. When the movie begins, we are introduced to Dr. Zoe McConnell. She brings a videographer named Eva to the lab to document her team's progress with an experiment. Eva is introduced to Zoe's co-workers Nico, Clay, and her fiancé Frank. As they begin to record, Frank explains that they have created a serum, codenamed Lazarus, which assists coma patients, but is shown to actually be able to bring the dead back to life. Clay is fascinated with Eva, and Nico seems to secretly like Zoe. Meanwhile, Zoe plays some music and prepares for a test experiment, when suddenly the music stops and she is startled by a pig face, only to realize it's Nico fooling around in a mask. Later, while having dinner, Zoe confides in Nico that it is almost 3 years since she and Frank got engaged, but they had to put the wedding off since the university wants them to continue the research. Nico tells her that maybe the universe is telling her something, but she ignores it, saying she has to finish her research soon. That night, Zoe has a nightmare about a burning apartment building, and she seems to be trapped inside it. While the place is in flames, she sees some hands below the burning door. Zoe wakes up in fear and Frank enters the room to console her. We learn that Zoe has experienced this same nightmare several times. The following day, the researchers gather to conduct another experiment, to improve on the functionality of the Lazarus serum. They think this experiment is the breakthrough they are looking for. They run a trial on a recently euthanized blind dog named Rocky. They inject the serum into the test subject, but nothing appears to happen at first. It seems like nothing is happening and the experiment is a failure, when suddenly, Rocky wakes up and starts barking. After being revived by the serum, Zoe notices that the cataracts formerly present in Rocky's eyes abruptly dissolve, enabling him to see again. Since they are not sure of the possible effects of the serum, Frank asks everyone not to disclose anything about the experiment to outsiders. Later that day, Frank and Zoe take Rocky to their home. They notice that he has lost his appetite and looks somewhat sad. Zoe seems to worry about Rocky and thinks that something went wrong with the experiment, but Frank assures her that Rocky might still be in shock and needs time to adjust. While Zoe sleeps that night, the door slowly opens. Rocky climbs on the bed and watches Zoe sleeping, in a disturbing manner. The next day at the lab, Eva tries to play with Rocky but he seems uninterested. In order to learn what is going on with his brain, the team put Rocky under a CT scan and find out that Rocky is showing signs of aggression. Although the serum should have dissipated within hours, the team discovers that it is still in Rocky's brain. Later, while Clay is working alone in the lab, Rocky escapes from his cage and creates a mess in the kitchen. Then Rocky growls at Clay and tries to attack him. The others return and are shocked to learn what happened. The team agrees that something is wrong with Rocky. The next day, the university dean summons Frank and says she knows all about his controversial experiments. She shuts down their experiment and Frank learns that someone has been showing the dean their footage of the attempts of testing the serum on animals. At the same time, he is also informed that a major pharmaceutical company has bought out the company that funded their research. The company confiscates everything associated with the project. The team shows up at Eva's apartment, accusing her of leaking information to the dean, but Frank believes it was done by someone who wanted to take over their project and take credit for their masterpiece. Then Frank comes up with the idea of duplicating the experiment so they can prove that they created the serum, and not the pharmaceutical corporation that took it from them. One night, Eva uses her access card to get inside the lab and she sneaks the team through the back door. At the lab, Nico hacks into the security system to buy them time, while Clay obtains a second dead dog and prepares it for another test. Frank gives Zoe the cue to activate the voltage, and as soon as she does, the lights go off. Frank sees Zoe lying on the floor. It turns out that Zoe has been electrocuted. Frank rushes to her side and notices she doesn't have a pulse. Nico gives him an adrenaline needle, which Frank injects into Zoe's chest, but she doesn't respond. Clay brings the defibrillators over, but they don't work either. It is clear now that Zoe is dead. If you made it this far and you're enjoying the video, now would be a great time to subscribe to this channel. Subscribing is absolutely free and it would only take a second. It will help us bring you more awesome videos. Back to the recap, Frank notices that Zoe was electrocuted because she was wearing her engagement ring. Devastated, he lifts Zoe and puts her body on the experiment table, intending to inject her with the serum to bring her back to life. The others try to stop him from doing this because it is unethical, but Frank remains firm with his decision and injects the serum into Zoe. Frank orders Nico to increase the voltage, but Zoe doesn't respond. Upon noticing a security guard approaching them, they stay hidden in the dark. Suddenly, the team sees Zoe sitting up on the table. When Frank comes towards her, Zoe then grabs his wrist and inquires if she has passed away. That night, while Frank comforts her, Eva asks her about what happened when she died, but she only remembers blurred visions. They observe Zoe by scanning her brain, and it turns out that it has a lot of neural activity happening, just like it did with Rocky. Nico explains that Zoe's CT scan results show that 90% of her brain is active when ideally, only 10% of the human brain works. Later, Frank comforts Zoe and assures her that things will be alright. He puts a necklace around her with her ring attached, then Zoe seems to hear Frank's thoughts saying something's wrong with her. When Zoe is left alone in the room confused, she is able to move the pen on the table with her mind. She also experiences physical changes, and notices that her fingertips and the spot where Frank injected the serum have darkened. She accidentally breaks the mirror, and her reflection seems to be smirking at her, then suddenly Rocky appears growling beside her. Zoe ends up killing the dog with her newfound powers. Feeling scared about what is happening to her, Zoe tells Frank that something is wrong with her. She claims that when she died, she went to her version of hell, which was a nightmare originating from her childhood. During a fire in her apartment building, she witnessed trapped neighbors burning to death. Frank dismisses it as a bad dream, just like what she experienced before. He then injects her with something that would make her sleep to help her ease her mind and let her rest. Later on, after putting Zoe to sleep, Eva experiences the same nightmare where she finds herself in the same burning building. She sees a young girl standing in the middle of the hallway, then she sees some burning hands reaching out. Suddenly, something attacks her and Eva wakes up screaming. She tells Frank about everything she saw, and Frank gets suspicious upon learning that it was the same thing Zoe had kept seeing. Nico notices a visible burn on Eva's wrist and is sure she was actually attacked. Then Frank discloses Zoe's traumatic childhood experience in which she was trapped in a burning building and saw her neighbors sticking their fingers out, trying to escape. According to Eva, when Zoe died, her soul may have trapped in a moment. At this point, everyone's worried about what's going on, because they have no idea what is happening to Zoe. While Zoe is asleep, she is seen floating from the couch. When her eyes open, they are hellishly black. While Clay takes care of Eva's burn, Nico works alone in a room when Zoe suddenly startles him. She begs him to help her figure out what's wrong with her, and she tries to seduce him, but Nico rejects her advances. Zoe gets angry and her eyes turn black again. She pushes Nico into a cupboard with her telekinetic powers, and crushes it, killing Nico inside with blood flowing through it. Soon, the rest of the team arrive and inquire about Nico's whereabouts. Zoe remains calm and silent. Frank and Clay get into an argument about Zoe. Using her new abilities, she cuts the power to the entire lab. They get trapped inside the building, as all the doors get jammed and they cannot find a way out. Zoe can hear everything Eva is thinking and she insults her. Eva asks her where Nico is as Zoe was the last person to see him. Zoe says she has nothing to do with his disappearance. Clay yells at Zoe to tell them where Nico is, but Zoe uses her supernatural abilities to choke Clay with his e-cigarette. While struggling, Clay discovers that it is Zoe's fault as she winks at him. The others realize this was Zoe's doing and she stares at them without any remorse. Once again, the power goes out and Zoe vanishes. When the lights turn on, Frank and Eva see Zoe summoning the equipment into the air and throwing them. Frank now realizes the true danger of keeping Zoe alive, and he prepares to inject a poison into her. Frank sees Zoe crying in the hallway and tries to trick her, telling her that she's still the Zoe he loves. But Zoe can read his mind and knows that he is lying. She grabs his head and squeezes it until his neck snaps, killing him. Eva flees when she sees this while Zoe takes the rest of the serum and injects it into herself. Eva takes it upon herself to somehow inject the poison into Zoe. When Eva is looking for Zoe, suddenly Zoe appears upside down, causing Eva to stumble to the ground. Eva once again finds herself inside the burning building, which is Zoe's subconscious. The little girl in the hallway gives Eva a box of matches, and it is revealed that the little girl is young Zoe and she was the one who started the fire. Eva assures her that it was not her fault and that she can correct the situation by letting the neighbors out. Soon the evil Zoe enters the hallway with scorched skin and hellishly black eyes. As the little girl opens the door, we see a bright white light. It appears that Eva manages to inject the syringe into Zoe, who apologizes for her actions before collapsing. As the firefighters arrive, the whole scene turns out to be an illusion as Zoe reappears and kills Eva by breaking her neck. Afterwards, Zoe places Frank's body on the experiment table. She then injects the serum from her own body into him. With a gasp, Frank comes back to life, and the movie ends here. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and comment which movie you would like us to recap next.